Revenge films.
I moved in with my husband's family in the countryside when we got married. My parents had already passed away and I had no siblings, so I was all alone. One day, my mother-in-law said to me, "You have nowhere to run, and no one will come and help you." That was pretty ominous. I was terrified and asked my husband to reconsider my moving in together, but he said I was overreacting and ignored me. I was also pregnant at the time, so he said he wouldn't be able to move anyway. Now that I had nowhere to run, my mother-in-law would throw dishes at me, yell at me, and insult me every day. In the morning, she would tell me, "Freeloaders don't eat in this house." I was only ever able to have food at dinner time. I started to lose weight, and my hair started to fall out, but there was no one there to help me. All I could do was bear the fear of being completely alone. My husband always ignores me and pretending he couldn't hear me. Even if I managed to run away, I couldn't work because I was pregnant. And then one day, amid this living hell, I was blessed with the birth of a baby girl. Even my husband came to see me at the hospital every day. I guess he was excited to meet his daughter. But even though my husband came, my mother-in-law never did. I was just happy to snuggle with my daughter and see my husband every day. However, my condition after giving birth wasn't good. So one day, my husband took our daughter home while I stayed for a few hours of observation. When I got home, I heard an unusual cry from the living room, so I hurried there as fast as I could. When I got there, my husband was as pale as a ghost, and my newborn baby was lying on the floor, crying at the top of her lungs. "Why is my baby on the floor? What on earth happened?" My mother-in-law said, "She just rolled out of bed, that's all." "That's impossible. She can't even roll herself over yet. She's a newborn. What's going on?" "You tell her. She rolled out of bed by herself, didn't she?"
Yeah.
I was sure that something out of the ordinary had happened. My first priority was getting my baby to the hospital, so I called for an ambulance. When they checked her out, she had multiple broken bones and a seizure. They said that they were fortunate to get to the hospital as soon as we did. The doctor who examined her had a very serious look on his face and said,
This doesn't seem like a fall. This looks like she was thrown to the ground.
He suspected abuse. My mother-in-law was there, and she said that I threw the baby down in a fit of rage due to postpartum depression. The nurse shot a very cold look at me after that. I tried to explain that I wasn't there when she fell, but my mother-in-law's acting was so good that nothing I said convinced them. She sat there weeping, saying, "My poor granddaughter." A few days later, at the hospital, someone came up to me. It was my dad's son with his first wife, my half-brother. We never had much of a relationship, but we did know each other. When he looked at me, he was concerned and came up to me.
What's the matter? You look absolutely awful.
It was pretty obvious to anyone who saw me that something was very, very wrong. He took me to the nearby restaurant and listened to my story in a private room. He was livid when he heard what happened. Not only had I been mistreated, but even my daughter was being abused. He couldn't believe it.
What is the matter with that man? His mother is abusing both his wife and his daughter.
He immediately called a lawyer and told me to not go to the house. He offered me to get a hotel room, which I accepted. Then, a few days later, he got me my own apartment and called my mover to bring me my things. As it turns out, my half-brother was actually a big shot in a major company and was extremely well-connected. He was also concerned about leaving my daughter with such awful people and managed to get her transferred to a hospital close to my apartment. Then he got protection ordered placed on her, so no one could go see her, other than me without permission, meaning I didn't have to worry about her getting kidnapped. He didn't stop there.
Don't just get even. Get revenge!
Apparently, he lives by the mantra, in order to get revenge on my mother-in-law and husband. He started taking every step possible to make their lives living hell. The lawyer he hired went to my daughter's new hospital to learn about the circumstances around her injury. And after hearing everything, he filed a police report against my mother-in-law. She tried to tell him that the baby rolled over on her own again, but that's not possible for a newborn baby to do. The police started investigating my husband for covering up my mother's actions. And then they both had their day in court. "You did this! Why are you trying to pin it on me, you vile woman?" That defense didn't work. Since I was finally out of the house and had my half-brother there to support me, I was able to keep my cool through the whole trial. The judge found out my mother's story had several inconsistencies, and the nurse who was taking care of me testified too.
She always looked so happy when she was with her daughter. I never saw a single sign of her postpartum depression.
That was a pretty powerful testimony. My mother-in-law was so furious that she sabotaged her own case. While they were waiting for me to get home from the hospital, my mother tried to pick up the baby, but she started crying. My mother-in-law was never good at handling rejection. So she was mad that my daughter didn't like being picked up and that she threw her on the ground. I had assumed that was what happened. My blood started boiling when I heard it coming from her own mouth. Obviously, crying is no legal justification for throwing a baby on the ground, so my mother-in-law was set for prison for child abuse. After sentencing, my mother said, "Why do I have to go to prison? It's all your fault! You should go to prison! You!" The police had to restrain her. It seems she never imagined she would serve prison time, and she completely lost it. She appeared so unstable to the police that she got sent to high-security prison for the criminally insane. I've heard that it's a sort of prison that would make even strong-willed men cry his eyes out, so maybe she'll think about what she's done. After my mother-in-law was arrested, my husband said,
I never expected my mom to go to prison, but let's start over again, just the three of us. No one's done the laundry since you've been gone, and that trial made me hungry. So go do the laundry and make us a big dinner.
It was like he had completely forgotten what happened. Excuse me, what's the matter with you? Do you think I was going to start over with a man who watched his own daughter being abused and did nothing? I want a divorce and I'm suing you too.
Hey, calm down. My mom's the one that did it. She's in prison now. So what's there to be angry about?
You're just as guilty as she is. You're never going to see me or my daughter ever again. He had nothing to say for himself, so he left silently. After that, the lawyer negotiated our divorce for us. I got a massive payment from the lawsuit. Word spread about my mother-in-law getting arrested, as well as about my husband standing there and watching as she threw my baby on the ground.
Did you hear? He even stuck up for his mother, even after she tried killing his daughter.
Unbelievable. It's no wonder she divorced him. The gossip followed him wherever he went. As usual, it happens when you live in a small town. Word spread very quickly, even to the company where he worked. His colleagues and superior all started to treat him like he was a loser. And he eventually got depressed and quit his job. As far as I was concerned, my ex really was just as guilty as his mother. So there's no chance I would forgive him for just nonchalantly asking to start over like nothing had happened. So this may make me seem mean or vindictive, but when I heard about his depression and losing his job, all I could think was, serves you right. After that, my half-brother got me a job working in his company's office. He told me that he was engaged and they were going to get married soon. His fiancée is a great girl and she helped me out with taking care of my daughter. Every time they came to my apartment, they brought meat, vegetables, diapers, formulas, and more. She couldn't believe all the things I told her about my ex's mother abusing me and the baby.
Unbelievable! How could a person be so evil? Don't worry, we're your family now, so we'll always be here for you.
Not one. Not even my ex-husband had ever said anything like that to me. I was so moved by her kindness that I started to cry. My half-brother felt awful that I had to suffer through so much by myself for so long.
We should have kept in closer contact with each other. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you needed me.
I didn't need an apology from him. I was grateful. He's done so much for me, and I'm finally in a happy place. For so long, the only people I had called my family were my wicked mother-in-law and ex-husband, so I suffered in silence. But now I have a wonderful half-brother and his lovely wife and my adorable daughter. I had been through some really rough times, but I'm confident that I have finally found happiness that will continue for a very long time.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.